And see, just like that, we are into a happy hour edition of Longbox Punk here on a Monday evening. I am joined by two-time now guest appearer, Gerald, my guy. Thanks for hanging out with me again and talking comics.
Oh man, it's my pleasure, Chris. Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't wait to come hang out with you again.
As soon as you reached out, I was like, yes, let's go. Take whatever date you want.
Yeah. Well,
Happy to have
I,
you back.
I mean, I felt very particular about who I really wanted to hang out with this campaign, and I pretty much, and I have my three staples because you and K-pop,
Yep.
Katie,
Yep.
and Chris Daly, Fueled by Weird.
Okay.
He
Yeah.
great guy. He has the best beard in
Oh,
show
yeah.
business.
Yep.
So I just reached out to you three guys because I was like, no, I don't like to just show up and just pimp stuff. I want to hang out and talk and have fun.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me on that short list. I'm stoked to hear that I'm on the VIP list.
Oh yeah, man.
Finally made it. You know, I can tell my mom like, don't worry, I made it. Okay, I'm on the list.
Yes.
So speaking of just hanging out, we were talking right before we hit live, and this is the beauty of having return guests is because we already have that we've broken the ice proverbially and we can just jump into talking comics and being fans and stuff. We'll definitely get into, for folks that may have missed our first chat, your origin story and all of that stuff. And actually it probably ties into what I want to ask about. With you had just said that Preacher as a series was like foundational and fundamental to you. So like, is there a way that you can tie that into your origin story for how you got into comics as well? Or like, what were you going through when you first met Preacher as a series that it had that change effect on you?
Oh man, let's just get in right. Let's get into it. So anybody watching this, we're not wasting time today.
That's right.
We're
Yeah. No
Look at
fluff.
Chris. See, this is why you have to watch Chris's show. He asks the hard questions right from the beginling.
That's right. Yeah. No warm ups, no appetizers. We're going straight main course.
Well, like I was sharing with you before. I mean, I've had, my own journey through comics as a fan. And it's always run parallel as a creator because what's inspired me, what has moved me, has affected how I draw or how present it. And before I found Preacher, I was just telling you, like, I mean, I grew up with all the comics, I mean, from the early days of Sad Sack and Casper and Richie Rich. And I
Yeah.
mean, these are my first introductions, but it was EC Comics that was really my first, like, what?
Yeah.
Um, I had an uncle who had some heavy metal, um, magazines, and his dad actually had these EC comics from like I wasn't even born yet, I don't think.
That's awesome.
Um, and I was like, "What is this?" Like I remember under my blanket, just like the flashlight, like, "This is amazing." And then I got into all the comics and all the regular stuff, the Marvel and DC. And when Punisher came out, that was cool. And Frank Miller's run on Daredevil like was life
Yeah.
changing. But as I got older, I mean, I was telling you, I went through my pretentious period, and there was and great stuff. I moved out to California, was reading a lot of Optic Nerve and finding the Hernandez brothers and Love and Rockets and Charles Soule and kind of going even back, Harvey Picard and just different ways. And I think that's important in your journey. And I kind of moved away from mainstream comics altogether and didn't think I would have anything to do with them. I was doing a because it was inspiring me as a comic creator to do more cartoon strips. Like I didn't even want to make comics. I just wanted to do like two panels.
Yeah.
And I was doing some of that for the LA Weekly and some other publications. And then I took this part-time job at Borders, if anybody remembers Borders.
Yeah.
And I worked in the cafe, and I was a young man in LA, and they had a graphic novel section, and I was like, what have I missed? Because I really was out of the loop. And Preacher caught my eye. And partly I don't know what it was. I mean, some of those colors were done. Some of those covers were done by Fabry,
Hmm.
and I didn't really know who Garth Ennis was. I hadn't seen Steve Dillon's work before, but I think I was attracted by Glenn's covers because it looked like you can put that on a comic,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
because it was just so like kind of he has that really crazy, hyper realistic yet exaggerated painterly style that
Yeah.
I wasn't really used to in mainstream comics at that time in the 90s, and it felt like art. And so I every lunch from the first it didn't now there was graphic novels and I can't remember how many volumes there are, but man, every lunch period, I mean I read the whole series. I sat by the window, ate my lunch, read Preacher, and that pulled me back into I don't want to say mainstream comics, but pretty much like
Yeah.
pretty much. And I'm like, because it's a comic, but Garth Ennis is writing. I was like, you can write this stuff? Like, and it's right on the shelf with Superman and Batman and Spider-Man. Like, that's what I'm gonna go for. And I still do. I think I'm still that way. Those are the books I still look for, like the next sort of Preacher, the next Sandman. I think Distillery's done an amazing job
Yeah.
of putting out stories along mainstream books. Um, top two books, we should really say,
Yeah.
that have these original universes with storytelling and art that is on par or even elevated. But I think Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon and Glenn Fabry really kind of were pushing the envelope. And sometimes I read Preacher now and think, I wonder if Garth Ennis was just like, when are they going to cancel me? Like what can I do in this series? Now it's not his craziest series. I mean, you've got The Boys and stuff like that. It's like every book he puts out
Yeah.
is like, I'm gonna write whatever I want and I don't care.
Yeah. Someone somewhere is gonna like it, and so I'm just gonna make it. Yeah.
And it's done just fine. So that yeah, that kind of brought me back into sort of, as a fan especially.
Yeah.
Um and so yeah, I think Preacher for me was a like, oh wow, you know, uh here we are. I'm inspired by this. And I'm no Steve Dillon or Garth Ennis, but I do think about those books when I'm making my own.
Mm. And I think I think didn't Glenn Fabry also do some of the, it wasn't heavy metal. He was on 2000 AD, right? Where he was doing like some of the older I feel like he did some of the Conan covers with that
Probably.
same like just crazy painting,
Mm.
almost realistic but almost caricature esque.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't. It's and his covers and his pieces are so uh, visually his style
Yeah.
that
Oh, yeah.
you see it and you're like, holy crap! Like I know who that is and I know what I'm looking at, and it's art. Like it
It is
just
art.
is. Yeah.
And Steve Dillon, it's funny because when I first saw Steve Dillon's art, I think you don't really appreciate it right away because it was so different in
Mm,
a way. Like, I mean, he went on to do like Punisher and stuff like that,
yeah.
but as I got into the series, it was like, no, this guy is a genius. He's like a genius. I mean, his lines are so simple and he makes it look easy,
Yeah.
but it's not. Anybody who's a comic artist drawing sequentially is, it's a skill that I don't think, it's in our DNA more than we know, but to actually do it, it's a skill you have to really develop and keep training. And I think Steve Dillon, looking at how I see him now is like, he is to me one of the greats.
Yeah. Yeah. So speaking of sequential art and being in your DNA, like how did you start? Did you start as just like drawing and then want to get into like the two panel comic strips like you mentioned? Like is that how it started for you and then you progressed into comics, or like
No, it was the other way. It
really?
was the
Okay.
other way. So, and I'll tell this really quick. I was in a bike accident, very young, I think 6 or 7, and I hit a house head first, like going like 35 miles an hour.
Jeez.
Yeah, I was insane. I was in this like almost 48-hour coma in the hospital. Um, and I was fine. I came out of it and I was fine. I had to wear this thing on my head. They made fun of me at school. And I was always a reader, and I did love comics. I had this uncle who he's not much older than me. He was still living at home, and he was an artist, and he did a lot of like wood engravings, though crazy stuff. But
Mm.
they were all cartoons, like the stuff that was popular back in the day, Hanna-Barbera stuff. He did do a Space Ghost that I wish I had it right now. It was to think like Space Ghost and David Pepose has brought that back into the fold and it's become like really cool again.
Yeah.
Um, so I got to the hospital. He gave me some paper because I wasn't like allowed to go ride my bike or play outside for a bit. And I just drew Donald Duck as a vampire drinking Daisy Duck's blood. And and he saw it and he goes, "That's pretty good." And that was it. I was
That's
hooked,
awesome.
and so I just went. There was a guy, classic guy, nice, but wife beater, cigar down to the end, in this old musty bookstore filled, not even organized, and he had boxes and boxes of comics, and he's like, "You can have whatever you want." And so he like would send me home with boxes of comics so I could study how you could do that drawing and do it over and over and over and put it on the page. And so, I mean, that was it. And I did that. And it wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I was trying different things.
That's awesome. So did you like also do the formal art education? Like, did you take classes and stuff?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was my favorite subject in school. I was not athletic. I was not a jock. I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't good at science. I liked art and history. Those were my favorite subjects.
Okay.
And literature. I loved literature. So English class I loved. So while kids were going to camp, and fishing and being stupid, I was going to art camp with a bunch of other nerds. Um, but I had the time of my life. And then, yeah, I went to art school and I dropped out my sophomore year. Sometimes I regret it, sometimes I don't, but it was because I was really into like theater too. And
Mm.
David Mamet had this book he put out, and he's like, if you're in school to create, then maybe you're not a creator. It was something along these
Mm.
lines, like if you're a creator, you're creating. And if you are, now that's David Mamet, and I don't totally subscribe to that philosophy today. I think to really hone your craft, you should be doing something. It doesn't have to be a formal university, but
Yeah.
something. There's some amazing courses with the invention of the internet. It's so easy now to, you know, learn how to really ink tools people are using. You can be more a la carte these days and
Yeah.
really get to what you want to do or what you find that you really love. So I did have formal art education, and I was young and I just wanted to make stuff. I wanted to make it the way I wanted to make it. But I do actually take courses now. Uh,
Mm.
you know, yeah.
And the nice thing too is like because it's the a la carte style, you can take the classes or watch the instructional videos or whatever of just the thing you want to do instead of wasting the time like I did on all of these gen eds that someone somewhere says you need, and then you get all of them done and you're like, why did I take any of those? Like none of this is okay. Or no, it's fine. It's fine. I get it. I need it for the paper, but like, all right.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, listen, I've done that route too. I went back, um, you know, just I was going to get another degree recently, and I was taking some classes that have nothing to do with learning how to be an artist. But I think it's when you're a comic artist, you are looking at stuff in a totally different way, and
Yeah.
you're learning things that you may forget, but you've never had to do in your life. Like when someone says, there's a script that says, and the F-15 spins in the air and the engine goes out. And it's like, I don't know how to draw that. How do you draw an F-15? And what does it look like in the air? And I'm like researching, jets
Yeah.
and, what. So, I mean, I'm just saying, just different stuff like that. So some of those classes I enjoyed because it was just cool to learn,
Yeah.
you know.
What's the wildest thing that you've had in a script that you were like, I don't even know where to begin with this?
Well, they're coming in right now. Because it's getting crazy. Because I have a writing partner now, Frank
Yeah.
Martin. And so Frank has really taken on the script writing. And so I just throw story ideas at him. Because
Okay.
I work better like kind of like David Lynch. And I read this thing once where David Lynch says he keeps his journals by his bed. And I'm paraphrasing.
Sure.
And when the moment he woke up, he started writing to not lose the dream, the subconscious.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I do. And I don't want to do any more than that. Like, I don't want to make sense of it. That's Frank's job now. So
Okay.
Frank makes sense. And Frank adds a lot of stuff. And we have a script right now that from a story that I presented to him. And I don't know how I'm going to draw it. But I'm like, it's so nuts. I mean, I can't really talk about it too much.
Sure.
It's a book we'll probably we'll put out next year. But it's nuts. It's like not psychedelic, but it is surreal.
Cool.
So and it's really like the surreal stuff. I mean, there's another guy, John Santana, has a really great anthology called The Haunted Box,
Mm.
and it's very much kind of like if Hellraiser was an anthology. There's a box, so that's the unifying theme. And I did a story, and there was definitely some parts I was like, I never did before. This aerial view of a guy tuning this $1 million piano. I don't even know what the inside of a piano looked like. What tools did they use? He's holding a piano wire. I didn't know what a piano wire looked like if you just bought it.
Yeah.
So there's certain things I start researching pianos and I'm looking at piano wires and how they attach to the screws, and I'm watching these YouTube videos of people tuning a piano just so I can draw two panels.
Yeah. I mean, that's like that kind of research. I'm a big fan of like doing that research stuff. I love learning things.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like anytime that if I have, because I similarly, and I should have, I'm in between journals and I just need to put something by my bedside because I woke up like literally physically fighting my wife at like 4 a.m. because of the dream I was having, and she had to like shake me to wake me up because I was like punching and kicking at her, and it was because of the dream I was having. And I was like, and I remember laying there thinking, oh, this would be like, this is a story I need to capture. And
Mm.
then before I did anything with it, I fell back asleep and I woke up again and I was like, all I can remember is like this spinning portal thing at the top of this like lighthouse type tower. And like the world just disappeared in a blip and you're
Ooh.
left with the people like, wait, we were like, where did everybody go? And like, that's all I can remember. I don't remember why I was fighting my wife. I have no idea. But like, I love that idea. And there's other dreams that I've had that I have been able to capture. And so I love that's now the role that you get to take on with Frank. Like, how did the two of you connect initially?
Well, Frank and I are in a group together that's sort of spearheaded by Travis Gibb, and a lot of us came from, there's a guy named Tyler Vogel who has a program called Comics Launch. He runs a program for creators who are looking to launch on Kickstarter and try to do it in a way that's proven to work. And so I had joined Tyler's group, met a bunch of people. We're in this Discord together. Frank and I sort of talked. I had a comic idea, which became 1,000 Cuts. And he kind of joined this group where we were just having a discussion. In between that, Frank had a Swamp Thing story for this compilation, and I showed him a Swamp Thing print that I had done. I said, there's only two characters that I would give up all of you for, and that is Swamp Thing and Daredevil. And so if they ever came knocking, you're all dead to me.
That's super
I'm
valid.
I'm kidding, but I mean, you know, so but so Frank was pushing me because I had a lot, Immortal Coil was like, going into the second issue, and I'm doing a lot of freelance cover work last year. And then he's like, "Listen, really need those Swamp Thing pages." I was like, "Oh yeah, man, yeah. All right, let me go. All right, I'm gonna." So I sort of dropped everything because it was only like a handful of pages, and I was like, "No, I want to draw Swamp Thing, so that I want to do my version of
Yeah.
Swamp Thing." Um, and so yeah, I busted them out in like a week, and Frank loved it, and I got to see the finished product, and we're kind of in the back of this comic as like a sort of freebie story. So I was just at a con, and we were handing these comics out, like, this is mine and Frank's first story together. And I said, Frank, you did more in 5 pages than some writers do in 20. And it was a real joy to go after it the way I go after it. And he didn't criticize. I mean, he enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I said, well, I invited him to come on to 1,000 Cuts to have the dialogue, and he wrote the script. Well, he wrote like all the issue outlines in like a week. And then once I was like, yeah, because I had that story in my head, so I was flexible to where the script went.
Yeah.
But I just needed to work with a writer that I felt it just, you know what I mean? Like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
Just easy.
Yep.
Just you do your thing and I do my thing. And you would, it's like, it's either going to be oil and water, or it's going to be like peanut butter and jelly. We're going to find out what it is. And we both think super fast and a lot. And I can't stop drawing. He can't stop writing. And it just worked. I loved where he took 1,000 Cuts. It wasn't where I was going to go.
Hmm.
And sometimes that can be like, I was really married to this idea. He just took it in a direction that I was like, I felt like a fan. I
Yeah.
was reading it going, oh, that's cool. Well, that's cool. And so we decided, let's make that first issue and see what happens. And then we started in our own imprint because we just got together and we had all these ideas. And now, I mean, we've got like so many. He came onto Immortal Coil now. He's the co-writer. And we've got an original graphic novel we're working on, a couple, like 3 comics. Yeah, some crazy stuff. I will tell you, yeah. And so you asked what's the craziest thing I ever drew. So I don't know. I mean, when it comes out, you'll see. But we're working on a story about a serial killer who has short-term memory loss. So that's going to be tricky.
Yeah.
That's all. That's so, it's not as funny as it sounds. It sounds funny when I put it like that, but it's yeah, that's a fun thing. And we're working on a sci-fi fairy tale, but it's very tragic and sort of monstrous, and takes place kind of in the future, but who knows when.
Yeah.
It's going to be very visual, very big in scope, very minimal words and balloons.
That's cool.
And that's that's going to be like but that's like one of our big projects. That's like 100-page book that we're working on.
That's awesome. And there's something magical too about like finding that collaborator that once you talk to them, you're like, we got to do all the things together. Like it's so cool that like hearing it from you about, because like you're making badass comics like standalone as the single guy that's doing the writing and the artwork. So now you add somebody like Frank into the mix to let you like really lean into that creative process and let him take on the almost logistics of like the dialoguing and all of that stuff. Like all of those two, like it's only going to make things better. And so I'm really excited to get my hands on 1,000 Cuts to see like what the two of you came up with. So, because it's kind of the reason that you reached out, like, tell me about A Thousand Cuts. I know you've got like supernatural. It's like a sentient sword. Like what? Tell me about A Thousand Cuts.
So A Thousand Cuts, this is probably is our first like major collaboration, full blown comic under Third Contact Comics, which is our imprint, that we've putting out together as a team. And I had the idea already, and I presented it to Frank. I said, Frank, so here's the idea. We've got this sort of half Japanese girl, and she's estranged from her family because she's just had this really messed up past. She's coming back to make amends, but not in time. Her father dies, but she's there with her sister cleaning up the house, and she cuts herself on a sword, and it's just like bam, like all of a sudden she's got 24 hours to kill or she dies. And I go, that's all I got. And so, that's all I got. And we have fleshed it out. So that has stayed true to the story. The story is the characters are that's where the depth and weight comes in her, especially
Yeah.
in the book. We're not going to be spending our time in exposition. It's going to move. It moves very quickly. It already on the like third page is like, what? Like, if anybody's seen the preview on Kickstarter, it's not a spoiler. She kills her sister. That's her first kill. And she didn't really do it on purpose. And, so we wanted the comic to start off on what's the worst thing that could happen if that happened to you. Let's just do it right away, and not waste our time. And then it's just going to be like a Tarantino type kind of dialogue between her and this sword that only speaks to her, to whoever is cursed by it. No one can hear it but you. And she's a recovering addict. There's sadistic crime lords, there's junkies, there's corrupt cops, and there's going to be a bloodbath on her way to trying not to lose her soul.
I love it. See that there, like if I wasn't already backing, I'd be like, where's the link? It's in the description. The link is in the description. So all you get 2 taps and you're there, you check it out. You've got 8 days, right? Until the campaign ends. So like, don't waste time. It's already, you funded in what, like 10 hours?
Probably less. It was 10 hours that I checked and I was like, oh, here we go.
That's insane.
I mean, yeah. And I think a lot of people had seen what I'd done on Immortal Coil and, and just trying to be a member of like communities, because it's hard, Kickstarter has tons of comics that you can support and not every comic is for everybody. And issue ones are hard because is this going to be worth my time? Because when you do Kickstarter books, really, it's not like we're living in a world where we all have this amazing deep pockets of extra money floating around. So when people invest in a Kickstarter book, I think it means a little something extra. Yes, go support your local comic shops. And if we were there, be pushing people there. This is where we have the book. And because we're not printing tons of copies, $10 is what we can do, to try to make some of that back so we can keep making stuff. No one's getting rich off of this. If anybody who's like kind of new to Kickstarter or supporting Kickstarter comics, I'm telling you now, nobody is getting rich because even if there's 1,000 backers, that's still more books you have to print, more books you have to ship, paying the creative team. Kickstarter takes money too. You've got to buy the supplies. There's the artist time, and a lot of the work you do on Kickstarter, no one's getting paid. The marketing, the hanging out, the talking, messaging, making the graphics, so there's a lot that goes into putting a Kickstarter book. What I hope that this one particular is that, it's more of a fun book. If you don't mind blood and people getting dismembered, I think it's fun. So it had, like I said, she's a character that we've fleshed out that I think you will root for. But her journey is just a crazy one. Like I said, Frank, I just want to, if this is a funny movie to pick, but have you ever seen that movie Crank with Jason Statham?
Yeah.
I love that movie. Like if I just want to turn off and I
Yep.
don't want to think and just watch something so stupid, I love it.
Yep.
I watch Crank, and I said, I don't mean the story, Frank. I just want to let's just move at that speed though, like just nonstop. Like
Yeah.
because if she stops, I mean, she's gonna lose it. She's gonna lose herself. So she's got to keep going. And fortunately, she just comes across people that are worth killing.
Hey, sometimes it works out for you, you know? And also, I love that you called out Crank because that's never a movie that anybody else is like, yo, have you seen Crank? And I'm usually the one that's like, okay, hear me out. Jason Statham, right?
Yeah,
Then I get to
hear me
Crank and I'm
out.
like, and Crank 2, he takes jumper cables, nipple and tongue. It's incredible. And they're like, I'm out. No, that's too much.
I might watch it again tonight, I mean, just pure schlock
Yeah.
fun. Why not? I
Yep.
think those Cranks are his best movies. I find almost all his movies unwatchable. Transporter, the first one, is really good.
Yeah.
Um,
The first one is very good. And then
but I just think Crank is great. It's great. It's just fun. Why not? Why
yeah,
not?
it's fun. Sometimes you just need something that's fun. Like every wrestling fan and social media just happened past weekend, and like a lot of course on social media stuff, and even like talking to friends that are also wrestling fans, they were all like, it wasn't this and that, and I'm like, yo, it was like 7 hours of wrestling, and it was really good. Like, just be a fan. I like
Oh,
play
I
frisbee
know.
golf, and I am terrible. I'm no good at all. And I've gotten to a point where I was so hyper fixated on like what my score was, how I was performing, like, how I was increasing my like ratings and stuff between rounds, that it suddenly was no fun, because if I had like a bad round, then
Yeah.
suddenly it was like, well, why am I even doing this? Like, and then so I just like deleted all of the apps that I had for scoring and tracking it. I just have fun now. And like
Mm,
I've that's an attitude that I'm trying to be more intentional about in other areas like wrestling, because I've been watching it for like 3+ decades at this point. And so like, yeah, I called almost every single match, but it's still like, just watch it as a fan. Let yourself be a fan.
I agree with you 100%. And and I feel, I mean, I don't want to get into too much discourse, the internet insanity of, I don't know, this trailer looks like crap, and it's like, listen, man, you have no idea. I grew up in the late 70s and early 80s and became, like young man in the later 90s, and when Iron Man came out, it was like all of our wet dream,
Yeah.
like because it felt like finally a comic book movie. And there
Yep.
were comic book movies, and Roger Corman had his fun. Dolph Lundgren had no skull on his chest. Captain America rode a motorcycle,
Yeah.
looking all crazy, looking like Evil Knievel. Um, then there's that yeah, I think was that Roger Corman Fantastic Four film. That is a
Yeah.
trip if you've never seen. Now we can go back and have fun, and think, oh, it's campy, it's funny. But I watch all those movies as a fan, as a kid, and I don't care. I don't care if it's not the next Gone with the Wind. So I think like that
Yeah.
was part of A Thousand Cuts, is kind of like our, okay, if we're gonna do this first, like, collaboration together, let's have fun. Let's go nuts. Let's see what happens. Um, but it's not campy. It might have moments, but again, there's a story in it, and it's emotional with her journey. But I think overall it was like, let's not think too hard about this story. Like, there's no demon possessing this sword. There's no like major villain.
Mm.
Like, the sword is the villain, and how it came to be, well, I don't know. Who cares?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it
Just
doesn't
enjoy
matter.
for what it is.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. We wanted to tell a story that went forward, not backward. It's like, let's not stop and talk about why this is. Let's keep moving at a breakneck speed because it's about her,
Mm.
and her journey, and the, just surrounded by this insanity, this craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love too, like the idea of once you know the point of the thing that you're creating, you suddenly then can look at all of the stuff that is maybe possibly being involved. And suddenly it's really easy then to be like, no, we don't need to do that. Like we don't need to give the sword its own origin story. Like that's not the point. So don't worry about spending time on that. Like just focus here.
Well, I will say that's when I knew Frank and I we were gonna be like really good collaborators together, because he really pressed on that. Like I had all kinds of ideas, and Frank just could like put it in a hallway and said, "Here's point A, and here's where the story ends. Let's not get distracted by all these doors where you could possibly go. Like
Yeah.
push the reader through this hallway and see what happens there at the end. It's a little dark. I mean, we know where it ends, and let's just not like veer off." Because again, the point of this story, and it's something that Frank is really good at, is taking this idea, and we try to break it down to like, what's the vibe, what's the mood, what's the speed, what's the, do we need to stop, do we need to pause, and in this one it was like, no, go, 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 go.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so like as the artist then, like how do you convey that like just pedal to the metal in the way that you're then drawing the book?
Well, I think what Frank is really good at, and what better than me for sure, 'cause, Frank's a really great writer, and if you saw the scripts, like how when I get them, I read them, and a lot of people will not see the script. They're going to think that they're just looking at the art, but when you read a comic, you're not.
Yeah.
You are looking at the script in a visual format. It is the script. So it's very important that the writer or an artist is working with a writer, even if I'm writing myself. And that's why it's great to work with Frank, because I don't think like a writer. I think like an artist. So I may put in extracurricular panels that have nothing to do. They give nothing to the story at hand. They could easily be just gone and done with.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, oh, that'd be so cool. Oh, that would be so cool. And it's like, yeah, you're kind of like, like the kid who's like, oh, shiny penny. Oh, look at the bird.
Yeah.
So Frank is really good at finding that thing in the script for me as an artist to know. Boy, it's so hard to describe. Because I don't have the script of Thousand Cuts in front of me, but
yeah,
it just, like when I saw the script and it said, because it wasn't my idea, it was Frank's idea, that she was going to kill her sister in the first 3 pages. And I didn't think of that. So it's not about like, oh, draw her killing her sister. It was like, oh, damn. Like, that's because if you read the preview, you don't see it coming. There's no way you can see it coming. I didn't see it coming. So then again, as an artist, it's like, all right, I know what the panels have to look like, setting up the character, the background, so you know where they are, and then and this is why Frank and I worked together too, because as I was drawing it, I saw a panel beforehand that wasn't in the script that I thought would be an interesting visual lead into that very next panel. And it was based on something my friend Thomas Price sent me about the marbling on a katana. That sometimes it was made to be marbled like that. But then the more I researched it, that there was like stories of blood drying on metal on these swords and having a marbling effect. And so I was like, oh my God, I said, Frank, look at this. Like, wouldn't it be cool right before she like kills her sister, we just see her eyes and they're all marbled over, like that effect on a katana.
Yeah.
And we don't have to say anything. Like, if you don't know, it's okay. We'll just go on a podcast and talk about it.
Just
So,
give it away. Yeah.
but hopefully it says something to the effect of like, there's something going on here. Like
Yeah.
this is, and there's something supernatural at play. Something's happening to her. Just so it doesn't feel like she's angry at her sister. She's like, shut up, you,
Yeah.
stab.
Right. Who, I mean, to be real though, like who hasn't been angry at their older sister and just stabbed, you know?
Yeah, I know. But I can tell you like so I gave you an example, like the new script that Frank sent over for this book about the serial killer with short-term memory loss. I'm throwing ideas at him, and I don't know how to explain it, but when I saw the first draft of that script, he kept that idea in the story intact by a very simple visual way to do it. It's like
Hmm.
Frank and I think worked together long enough to know he knows how I work. And then so I'm like, well, that's perfect. That sums it up without having to say it. We don't have to say his short-term memory loss. We are going to see that visually. And he wrote that out absolutely beautifully.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so the imprint between the two of you is Third Contact Comics. Where did that name come from?
Well, Third Contact, boy, I'm also paraphrasing. It's Eclipse terminology, and it's like right at the end. It's like right at the very end, like right when it's like Eclipse, and it's called Third Contact. And
Okay.
when I was thinking about an imprint, I kept seeing celestial bodies. I was playing around. For some reason, three is a number that I'm obsessed with. I don't know why. I just love things in three.
Mm.
And third kept coming to me. And then I was just looking at eclipse. I'm falling down a rabbit hole one night. I'm like 4 hours later.
Yeah.
It's like SpongeBob.
Yep.
And then I just saw this thing. It said Third Contact, and I saw what it was, and I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." It's like kind of the climax of the story. It's like right there before that eclipse is about to come back down. And so that was really it. And then I just drew that logo real quick and showed Frank, "Is this stupid?" And he's like, "No, I love it." So that was it.
Boom. That's
Boom.
great.
Done. Moving on.
Right. All right. Next. Now that we got that, like, so when you create the imprint, like, is there any sort of like, I don't know, registering it or something? Like, do you have to do any of that, or do you just like,
We're not a publishing company or an LLC. It's just this is something. It's like our clubhouse. It's our cool guy. It's our cool nerds clubhouse.
yeah,
Our little place, like George and Harold up in their treehouse comics club.
yep, okay,
Just making comics. I feel like that's me and Frank and our cyber tree fort, making comics, laughing, sharing ideas, having a good time. And we just wanted to give it a name because it's a collaboration. Frank has his own books.
yeah,
I do freelance and work for hire, and this is when we get to come together and kind of just share ideas. And like you said, it makes them better.
yeah, that's cool. And speaking of freelance, like there was a period, and by that I mean like basically all of 2025, that like a lot of the recommended Kickstarter campaigns that come up, it's like, and a variant by Gerald von Stoddard. And I'm like, dude,
Oh yeah.
what aren't you doing at this point? Like, how is that? Just like people see your work, know your work, know your reputation, and reach out like, yo, I have to have a cover from you for this book. Like, how does that conversation
Yeah,
go?
that's it. You said it.
Nailed it. Great. All right, next
You
question.
nailed it. Again, a lot of that came from just being part of communities and, just sharing some stuff that I was doing. I mean, Immortal Coil was my like first real, like, I'm back, into comics. And
Yeah.
that just blew a whole wide door open to meeting awesome people, making awesome books. And I'm a super backer as well on Kickstarter. So, I mean, that like this, not even, yeah, maybe like the last 11 months, like I backed like 75 projects, and I do what I can. I can't always. I would have backed 5,000 if I could.
Right.
But I do what I can. And when I do find something, and then we become friends, and some people like what I do, and I'm totally flattered by that. I don't walk around like, you know, um, no, I'm at an age where I'm just absolutely flattered that people write me and message me. I mean, yeah, I got two messages today, people for some Kickstarter books, do the
That's
variant
awesome.
covers. Yeah. And I mean, sometimes, I mean, honestly, I feel bad because I feel like when I was first really doing it, I was working so hard on sequentials that I wasn't really doing a lot of covers. I feel like if I could do them over, I wish I could. There's a guy named Daniel Torres. Him and his dad have an imprint called Space Chimp Comics,
Oh yeah.
and
Okay.
Tales from the Toxic Pond. They just did
Yeah.
the cutting room floor, and that was, I felt, a turning point for me as a cover artist. I felt like that's how I want to tell the story on a cover, and I feel honored that Daniel gave me an opportunity to do that. Because we've been fans of each other. And then, his Mandrill PI, that cover hasn't come out yet. I just did the variant. That's going to be a nice one. I'm super stoked about that. And I have a lot of covers that haven't come out yet. So there's probably at least 5 books that people haven't seen yet,
That's awesome.
and 2 more that just came in today. So but that's it for right now because
You're one person, right?
I'm one person, and then and I can't stop. I'm like an addict, so I'm compiling like a yearbook, a lot of my art from the past year, from 2024. It's kind of like 2025, and making like I don't know, like 120-page art book.
Jeez.
It's already done, so it's not that complicated. And I'm
Yeah.
working with Sean French, who's been the editor for Mortal Coil. Um, Putting that together. It's already done, so that's not, it's just probably Kickstarter that in late spring.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of like art books and cool stuff that you're doing, the Valhalla edition of Mortal
Mm.
Kombat, like I didn't expect it. You posted the picture and
Oh,
it's so
yeah.
big, dude. Like
It's so big.
that's awesome.
Well, it's 11 by 17, and people that know, that's, as comic artists, that's what we draw on. That's usually the format that we go by,
Yeah.
unless you're, even if you're doing like the magazine size. I mean, that's a little different. I only did one book like that, and that was tricky. I had to sort of change how I looked at a page.
Mm. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's a completely different ratio too.
yeah, you can't just put an 11 by 17 and think that it's going to fit. It's not. It's going to expand it, and it looks terrible. So it's a little more wide. You have a little more this way and a little less this way. So kind of when you're thinking of it and you're laying out visually, you're not putting panels the way you might normally. So that was a fun challenge.
Mm.
Um, but no, the Valhalla edition, those are what some people call artist edition. I made them for WickedCon this past weekend and had them on the table and heard that a lot. People were like, I've never seen this. I have seen those books. There's a guy, Rich Woodall, amazing artist, amazing comic creator from New England. He's done those in the past.
Mm.
Scout Comics, I think years ago used to do those. I was up in Vermont like 6 months ago, and Image had done one for one of their books,
Okay.
and I was like, so they're you don't see them a lot, but I was, I think as an artist, I was like, well, it's 11 by 17, and I want people to see the art how I see it, how everybody on the team sees it.
Yeah.
And you get and not shrink it down to that 6.25, 10.14, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, there's probably some nerd going, that's not the dimensions.
Sir, actually,
Actually, by my calculations,
it's 7.14. Amateurs. Yeah, no, that's fine.
so because I mean, you have to think about that too when you're drawing. You have to think about how small can I make this,
Yeah.
where it's not going to translate once the colors get on it, once the letters get on it, once it's shrunk down, it might just sort of disappear. So I wanted to put my pencils and the inks by John Martin into this format. And when you get to the last pages, I show I take a page of a script that I wrote and what the actual page looks like.
Mm.
And then some pencils that are like preliminary pencils where I make notes and think about the camera flow, which is the reader, but that, because if you're moving this way, what are we seeing?
Yeah.
So I have some of that at the end of it too, and people really gravitated towards it this past weekend at the con. They were like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And 80% of the people who looked at it bought one. I mean, they were like,
That's
because
awesome.
they were like, "This is so cool." I go, "I know, it is so cool."
You're right. You should own one.
No, but it is so cool. I mean, I kept one for myself. I'm like, I love this.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know.
I don't think I remember seeing any. I've seen like oversized, but I've never seen like the full 11 by 17 size book. And when I saw the picture, I was like, damn it, I totally should have backed at that level. Like that's so rad. And to have it at a con, like
Give me 5 seconds. I don't want to give me 5 seconds.
Perfect. See, this is the beauty of doing a live stream is you can have things that come up naturally in conversation, and then I assume he's going to grab his copy and then show it off so that you can also see the beauty of this behemoth of a book. And there, like, come on now.
There it is. So yeah, and Ray Dillon, who's worked for a lot of the top publishers, he did the inking on this on my pencils. He did a fantabulous job.
That's so good, dude.
And so, you get to open it, read it like a book, a little thank you. Yeah. And then, so what I wanted to do was sort of show my pencils before I sent them to John Martin to be inked. And then on the other side, that's John after he inks it. And I wanted to keep the letters by Jerome because I think the letters is cool. So you can actually read it like the page. And then I kind of, so in this, it's the first 10 pages of pencils. And like, and John did a great job because in this page I got tired and lazy. And my pencil, I was like, well, I'll do that a lot because why would I don't need to
fully shade everything. Yeah.
I mean, that's like an industry thing where the inker knows that's pure black. And then John really tightened it up with the blacks, on this page. He killed it on this page. Love that.
That's awesome.
And then the colored version is beautiful. So when people get those books in their hand. So then, like I was telling you, so like there's a page of the script from World Coil #1. And that's the first page. That's what the finished page looks like. And then just like a little preliminary page, like when I was doing the Mortal Coil #1, just like notes I write to myself, kind of quick sketching. Then I go back in and fix that. And then Mortal Coil #3 coming fall 2025. And so that's the 11 by 17 edition. And they actually didn't do so well on Kickstarter, but there's a lot of stuff that I think on Kickstarter you start to learn what really works and what doesn't. And if you can't see something like this in person, you can't really appreciate it. So when these were on a table and people are walking by and you open it on a page of art and they're like looking at it, then they close it. They didn't even know it was a book. They thought it was my portfolio.
Oh yeah. Okay.
And I said, no, it's a comic. It's a big old comic. So yeah, people were cool. And so I'll probably be doing those a lot more.
That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know anyone else in the indie scene that's doing those as as a thing regularly. So yeah, definitely and just from the standout eye-catching point of view for a convention, having that on your table is automatically gonna if I'm walking by and I see something that massive and be like, what is happening over on that table? And it's going to draw me in. And then that's where, as the creator, you start your sales pitch and you tighten your tie and all right. So, you want to buy some comics or what are we doing?
No, I need you at a con. I mean, talking just like that. Top hat and a cane, gold tooth.
Yeah.
Hey guys, come on here.
So listen, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you want to step on over.
It's a monkey on your shoulder. I love it.
Yeah, listen, you tell me what convention, as long as it's stateside, because I can't afford to go overseas, and I'll be there. And I will absolutely. I've got my what used to be my late father-in-law's like green leisure suit downstairs. I will wear that in a heartbeat with a
Chris, we're
giant
gonna
bow
do it.
tie.
We're gonna do it. You could do a live podcast at the con. Come over, sell some books. It'll be great.
Yeah, done, done.
Green suit. I'm all about it. I'm all about everything you said.
I love it. Yeah. If I could figure out how to make that a job, like, yeah, listen, I know you creatives, like, you don't want to do the convention because the marketing is exhausting, but like for me, it's exhilarating and it's energizing.
It
So
is no, I do love it. I love to meet people. I love to, I'm not a very good salesperson. I feel like I take a different tact, I guess, and maybe it hurts, or maybe it doesn't, where I'm excited to show you something and I love it. And, it means a lot to me, and I hope it means a lot to you. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
yeah.
There's something for everybody here at this show, man.
Yep.
I'm not I'm not the greatest. I'm just part. I get to be part of this crazy circus.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned Charles Soule earlier that he did like a virtual like author chat with my local library.
Oh,
And
wow.
he said in that chat, like they were asking him about like finding the audience and how do you find success with your audience? And he was like, listen, I just understand like not everything is for everyone. And so the people
Mm,
that, are going to enjoy what I'm writing, they're going to find it and they're going to hear about it and they're going to tell their friends that also like those similar things. And like, if someone doesn't like it, that's okay because there's other people that do. And like, it just,
absolutely.
like he just glossed right over it. And I had to like, I had that anime moment where I like fell back, my feet were up, just like, yeah, like the giant sweat.
Action lines.
Yeah, because I was just like, I was floored, like hit me in the face with a frying
Nervous
pan, dude.
laughter. Like, oh. Wait,
Yeah,
this is borderline like racist, right? Is it? I don't know.
it's, I've watched it. We've all seen those anime. Come
Yeah,
on.
I know. It's anime. That's all we're
It's
making fun of. I promise.
Yeah, that's 100%. But yeah, like he just glossed right over it, and I was like, God, I want to get a giant, massive poster above my desk that just says that instead of having to worry about like pleasing everybody. Like, nah, just make the thing, and the right people are gonna find it. And it's become my like immediate go-to response when people are like, MCU sucks. I'm like, really? Because like that's
Well, I
that
think
whole
that
circus
happens,
sucks.
but I also think, that can be a trap you can fall into with what I like to call real-time culture. And
Mm,
that's because that's where we are. We're in real-time culture, and we've never lived in a period of time like this. I mean, where does it go? Like, Minority Report, we're going to know like 5 minutes into the future, and that's going to be terrible for all of us.
yeah.
And, but I mean, there's a time you had to wait. Like, if you were like hawking your books to your local comic shop, maybe you get them on consignment, maybe they take like 5 of them. You're not checking in every 2 seconds to see how the algorithm is doing. Algorithm, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Um, and Kickstarter can kind of like lead you into that trap. Like like it's not a popularity contest. It's you finding your audience and, trying to stay out of that any mindset that says that you're making a book that's like the next bestseller. Um, but you may be making a book that makes people love comics again. And
Mm,
there's nothing wrong with that. That is great because I was just having this conversation yesterday. Comics are not as accessible as they were 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm not that young. I'm not old. Don't say it. Um, but there was I grew up with comics in drugstores, grocery stores, the cigar shop. There were comic shops. But man, wherever you went, you could buy a comic book, and it was part of our culture. And nowadays, it's not as accessible. You really got to search it out. And Kickstarter has leveled that field. I mean, anyone can go. And because it's online and it's free to go, I mean, you do back it, but that's your choice. No one's forcing you to. You don't pay money to be part of Kickstarter.
yeah.
You only pay for something you're going to get back, hopefully more than what you put into it. And you know, so it makes comics accessible on an international scale. Though I would love to see comics in America be like, so I live part-time in Italy, and Italy is like old school America. There are comics everywhere, everywhere. So
Mm.
it's not this subculture nerdy thing. It's part of the culture. So if you want to buy Dylan Dog, you can go buy your bananas and your bread and yogurt and pick up a copy of Dylan Dog.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
that's cool. That's the way I'd love to see comics become again in America. Like, be more accessible. Like, don't make it so hard for people to find these things, and um, make it like, it's not just about the movies. These movies come from somewhere. And, and yes, sometimes the comic is going to be better. That graphic novel is going to be better. I mean, people are like, why is manga so popular? Because it's so accessible. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's fun. There's a story for everybody, and you can like find it like everywhere, especially in Europe. I mean, manga is huge because there's not a lot of bureaucratic tape for someone, a shop or business owner, to have a few copies in their shop. And that's the way it used to be in America, but we
Yeah.
lost that. We haven't lost storytelling, and we haven't lost quality of art and the quality of comic book making. We've just lost how, like, kids finding them or teens being into them. It's like they're just as great and sometimes better than a video game, but they don't want to go into a comic shop,
Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And sometimes comic shop owners, sorry, comic shop owners, there are some of you who don't make people feel welcome. I'm sorry, but there are times I've gone to a comic shop and you got that guy who's like, doesn't even talk to you unless you're checking out.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to be a comic shop owner, and I was like probably annoying the hell out of people. They walk in the door, I made a cup of coffee for them. I'm like, oh my God, I am so excited you guys are here. Here's some coffee.
Yeah.
Here's Lucifer. Have you read Lucifer? Have you read Alan Moore's run on Swamp Thing? Do you know how he changed the future of B horror movie characters and made them with a depth and weight that no one's ever done? And they're like, whoa, man, I just want to know if you had any magic cards.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually here because my buddy said he bought Pokemon cards here. So,
But I'm telling you, man, the people, and this is, and comic shops, I think, can be more like that because they walked out with Lucifer in a book they never thought of finding. I remember people would write me and say, I would have never thought of buying that book, Lucifer, and it's fantastic. It's amazing, and they came back in and they read the whole Sandman run because that's where it came from. And then just, they get into that universe and then we're talking and it's just so cool. It's so fun. And, I love to see comics be more like that, more shops be like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Kickstarter is kind of like that. We're all having a party. You're doing a launch party, right?
Yeah, I'll be so I hosted one with Jay Donahue and Ian Mondrick, who was in the chat earlier.
Was it for Stashbox?
It was for Stashbox and for Together Forever, from Jay. And then because of that, I'm also going to have Louis Godoy back on the show, your fellow Coil friend.
He changed the name though.
Changed it.
Yeah. Louis, I'm sorry, dude.
That's that's so funny to me. Because we talked about it when he was on the show the first time. He was like, yeah, some other dude has the same freaking name as me, man. And he was like,
found me
up, like he came first.
Well, I was on Twitter at the time before it was X, and he found me. And he was cool, dude. He made a meme that was so funny. It was when the two Spider-Men are looking at each other and the picture of our comic book covers. And he's like, hey,
That's awesome.
And so, we became friends, and I'm in a couple of groups with Louis. And, I mean, and look, if I was just starting out, not because I don't think it was not a contest. We were totally cool with each other. But I think Louis really wanted to differentiate. I have a different story. This isn't that book.
Yeah.
You might know from this guy. And I would have done the same thing just because I wanted to also say, no, Lewis's book is awesome. I had to change the name because you need to check that out and not confuse the two.
Yeah.
So the fact that Lewis, did that, my hat's off to him. Cool
Yeah.
guy, really nice creator.
Yep. We'll be launching, he'll launch his campaign actually March or May 4th, I think, whatever that Sunday is.
Hmm.
And so we're doing a launch party then. And then I've also got some potential launch party plans coming, but we haven't locked anything down. So I don't want to say anything about theirs. But yeah, and it all came from Jay and Ian and Fred. Having the three of them on the show, like it was so much fun. And we were
Oh, that's so
just,
cool. Oh,
like
nice.
three dudes
Well,
just talking about
Jesus,
comics.
Chris, thanks for not telling me you do cool stuff like that.
I didn't know I did. And then Jay was like, "Hey, I was talking to Ian, and we've both been on the show, and like, and so it just he was like, we are already both launching our books, and they wanted to do it on April 7th, like on their launch date, but I already had a schedule for that show, and so I was like, I can't do the 7th, but I can do the 9th, and he was like, yeah, okay, yeah, well, yeah, that'll be fine, and so I was like,
Well, I hope
doing a
I'm
launch
I'm
party.
cool enough. Maybe in the near future, me and Frank could come hang out with you on a little launch.
Absolutely, yeah.
I
Because
would love
I
that.
used to talk to Frank back on in the Twitter days. And so when
Hmm.
I like he's another name that I keep coming, seeing pop up, not just because I'm subscribed to his newsletter, but like, I see his name pop up on different projects and people talking about him. And so like I saw that the two of you partnered up and I was like, man, that's so like it's
Yeah.
just that reminder of how the community of indie comics is just unlike anything else that I've
Mm,
ever experienced. Like the
mm.
closest thing is the punk rock, like local music scene of just,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, like we'll help you load in your stuff, even though we're in a battle of bands against you. Like, come on, yeah, grab, yeah, well, give me a case,
Well,
I'll take it in.
that's a great analogy because I was in that scene for years, and sort of the sort of more art punk kind of scene, but it was very communal.
Yeah,
It was a very communal thing, and nobody was getting rich. We were just having a blast.
yeah,
Bunch of stinky dudes in a van, sleeping on couches, hanging out, you
yep.
know, with other stinky dudes
With
and
other thinking,
stinky girls,
yeah,
hanging out, playing music, and getting to know people. Yeah, that was great. So I kind of came from that too. I came from when you had to make your own CDs and make the art. No, okay, I'm gonna go back a step further. I
do
made
it.
my own cassettes.
Ooh, okay,
I made my own cassettes and made the covers, every single one by hand.
that's awesome.
I'd be up all night, like cutting stuff, like making collages, going to Kinko's. I'm so tired. I'm like making these. All right, I'm gonna write some poetry inside, and then putting it in the cassette, making the cassette, and like finding a
Yep,
place that would make a label for it. Or I'd be like, "Fuck it, I'm just using a Sharpie,
yeah, straight on
and
the cassette, yeah.
and then I'd make like a zine that went with the cassette and sell it out of my trunk."
That's perfect. That's exactly, man. I wish I was there. I would have bought that. I bought a CD from a guy when I was in New Orleans. He didn't have anything fancy at all. He just some of them were just the straight CD and like a folded piece of paper. But he was like somebody gave him like leftover paper lunch bags, and they're
Mm.
like, "Hey, I don't know if you this will help you." He was like, "I need something to put my CDs in," and so like I bought a CD in a paper bag from a dude on a corner in Louisiana because I was just like, I like what you're playing and like this is so punk. And he just like scribbled the name of the band in Sharpie on
I
the
love
bag,
it. On
folded
a
it, and
bag.
was
Awesome.
slinging them, man. I was like, yes, I'm here for it.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yep, I love
Yeah,
that energy. Like
yeah.
just
And
do it.
it's hard to kind of keep that spirit alive in a very cyber culture, in a very that real time culture, and everyone, it's so hard to. And I mean, that is the cool thing about Kickstarter is yes, we're interacting a lot online. We're hanging out, you and me online, but you're going to get physical stuff. You will. So
Yep,
you get to kind of bring these two worlds together, you know,
yep,
like that old school sort of punk spirit, but we are making something and people are getting stuff in their hands and all different kinds of comics. I mean, I see some of the ones that some people are sending you like crazy stuff. And I'm like, that's so cool.
yeah,
Like one of a kind covers that are like very handmade. It almost feels like I
yep,
love that stuff because I
yeah.
still love that type of indie, even though I feel like what I do is kind of trying to bring an indie spirit to a mainstream presentation.
Yeah.
I mean, I am trying to make books that are as high quality as the ones you find on the comic shelf. I mean, paper and the covers and that comic book feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
it all matters. And every step of that process is important, right? Like I feel like you can't get to the, like where you're at with the, like, yeah, this is, like I can strive for this professional presentation without also having gone through, like, I was the dude sharpieing cassette tapes and making zines. Like, it all, I
Yeah.
think, just adds to, it's one of those intangible things that, like, if you have that mental capacity or that perspective to, like, I'm going to do it however I see fit, and like I just need to make the thing and get it to where people can have it, cool, and like whatever that looks like, that's what I'm going to do. And then like you also have the magic of conventions, right? Of like, no, okay, so now you've only ever seen like this one picture that I chose, and like maybe a podcast appearance or something to know what I look like, but then seeing that person in real life and being like, hey, I know your books. Like I'm going to a small press and alternative comic expo in Columbus on Sunday. And like, there's going to be a couple people that I've interacted with on Blue Sky. One of the guys sent me comics. And so like, I'm going to be able to see them in person and like, hi, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, you're
just gonna,
real.
You're gonna poke each other for like 10 minutes.
We're just gonna boop each other on the nose. Boop, boop. But like, that's what I'm looking forward to. Is like, you're not just gonna be your avatar or whatever I've seen of you on social media. Like, you're a real person, and there's real people behind all of these books on Kickstarter and all of these spaces that are like pouring everything they've got into this one thing. And similar to you, like, man, if I had all the money, like I would be backing everything I possibly could. And
there's so much good stuff.
There's so much
well, I mean, if anybody, I mean, I don't like to just say 1,000 Cuts is not the only comic on Kickstarter. I would say one of my favorites right now, well, there's two, Futility Shapes, by Edward Kane and David Fowler. And David Fowler is an incredible artist. And I think they're ending in like 2 days. They funded, but it doesn't mean anything. If you want the book, it's a great book. Just the best part about being funded is it's going to happen. So you're going to get it.
Yeah, you're guaranteed to get that book.
And Stashbox, because I think I've been a fan of Frederick for a long time. And I think he does, I would say right now in comics, and I don't care if I'm wrong, I really don't. I'm just one guy with an opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I think he does the best, what's the word? Vintage horror style in comics today. And I don't mean indie Kickstarter comics, I mean all together.
Yeah.
Like, if you love that style, the color, what he does, his pencils, his inks, he colors, he does it all. And that's the comics I grew up on, like as I became a young lad. And Frederick he's one of the best. So if you haven't seen Stashbox and they could use some love, go there and check it out. I never read one of Ian's books before, but the premise sounds phenomenal. He's a cool dude. I've got to sort of talk to him online, so Ian seems really cool, and Frederick's great artist. So those are two books I definitely check out. I'm missing so many, but Futility Shapes, check it out. Stashbox, great book. Support those guys because we're all in it together.
Yep. And I love because you provided your Facebook, which is also linked below. Like, I love when you make your posts of like, hey, if you've got a thing like crowdfunding right now, share it. Like, let's just like, you're constantly, creators don't have to do that because of the like competition feel of like, well, I need people to back my stuff, so I'm going to talk about my stuff. And if I talk about their stuff, like, maybe someone's going to give them money instead of me. So I'm just going to talk about like, it's safer, but you're like regularly.
Can I swear?
Yeah. I don't censor anything.
That thinking is bullshit.
Yeah.
It's absolute bullshit because it's not, it is true, it is competitive, but competition from who? Like I feel like I'm competing with myself
Yeah.
most of the time, either to get out of my own way or to just stop try not to fall into false modesty. Like own what you do, love what you do. If you any indie creator, regardless, because art is in the eye of the beholder,
Yep.
you know. So comics are in the eye of whoever's looking at it. And so what you think is gorgeous art, maybe someone else does not. And that's completely okay. You still own and deserve your seat at the table.
Yeah.
And it is competitive, but I'm not competing against my fellow creators. If they want to back your book and mine or just yours, comics still wins.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
comics for the win. Now, it is true that when I have a campaign going, I tend not to share too much. I I will go like on other social media channels. I'll back it. You know, I'll definitely back it.
Yeah.
But I do have to kind of stay on top of what I'm doing, and I'm going to be doing very short campaigns from here on in. No more than this 30-day nonsense.
Mm.
This one was 16 days. I'm going to shorten it down to 14, and that's it. I want to get after this. Got a lot of stories to tell, and don't have time to sit around and watch people cancel.
Go through the lull that always happens in that second
It's
week.
a long time. People want to get after it. They want their books faster. So to make that happen, you know, this was an experiment to launch that 16 days, and so to fund so fast. That was a record for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so I can do that. I think I have built up enough, maybe small little slice of the pie audience, but they are looking forward to seeing what Frank and I are doing.
Yeah.
But I do believe that I'm still a fanboy, and I'll always be a fanboy, and I love comic books. I don't just love what I do. I love the whole thing. I'll just say real quick, I was at this con recently, a small one, tiny, and across from me, I'll butcher his last name. His first name is Jonathan. It's funny because he has an Italian last name, but I always butcher it. And he's the artist on a book called Bear Pirate Viking Queen.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
comes
Okay.
out from Image. Now, when that came out on the shelves, I was like, what is this book? I
Yeah.
need to own it. It needs to be in my life. Everything from the font for the title and the
Mhm.
art inside, he is insane. So he is across from me. I mean, it's literally like 6 feet. And I was like, you know, and I went over there and I said, sorry, man. I have a table over here, but I don't care. You're the artist on this book? And he's like, yeah. He's like, I live in a town. I don't want to say where he lives, but like he's about an hour south of me when I'm in New York. And I was like, oh my God, dude, I can't tell you how flippin' excited I am to meet you. Your art is off the charts, like the kind of stuff that it transcends comics. I mean, you could be in the Whitney, biennial, like you could be in, it's that good. And he's cool. And so he's gonna. We just got talking, and he's gonna do a variant cover for Amora Coil
That's awesome.
#3, and I'm so excited for that. And yeah, just fanboyed the hell out. I don't even care if I lose money on that cover. I just want it.
Yeah.
I want it. I want to make a book with his art on the cover. I don't care if I go in the red. I don't, because I'm just like, how cool is this? And I
Yeah.
can show my 7-year-old, like, this guy did that cover. Can you believe it? I
That's
mean, there's
awesome.
lots of artists I would love to work with. Jai Lee is my bucket list. That's my top.
Oh yeah, man.
Jai Lee is, if I ever had a book that Jai Lee did cover on, I would probably just go out to the pasture and just die.
I
That,
made
that
it. I don't. There's.
nothing else left to do. I
Yeah.
did it all. But anyway, yeah, man, there's a lot of comic creators out there, and I think for me, I sleep better at night knowing that I try to tell people that don't know how cool this is, how cool it is. And that's like the comic shop owner in me. Like, you know how cool this book is? Please check it out. Check out Frederick's work. It's so good.
It's so good.
And Dave Fowler, he's my other new favorite artist.
Yeah. That's great. Dude, that's officially all of the notes that I have for you, but I do have two quick more things. The first is the pose that I'm going to use is the YouTube thumbnail thing. So let me get my, I'm going to act like I'm stabbing you. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to get my keyboard shortcut here. All right. And then we're going to pose, get this lined up. My fierce pen. There we go. That's the angle. All right. All right. 3, 2, 1. Perfect. And then, and then the other thing is like we could talk all night,
I
honestly.
know. Seriously.
I love talking to you. I love
Yeah,
just
man.
hearing how your brain works and like how passionate you are about creating art, and comic as an art form, not just as like a book or a thing for kids. And like I just appreciate the hell out of it. So just thanks for like being awesome, but also like I love doing this show because everybody has different backgrounds, different experiences,
Mm.
different lives that have led them into this indie comics community, and I love hearing those different perspectives. So I am very intentional with the end of every episode of I stop talking, and I just want to give you some space. If there's anything you want people to hear that's directly from you, from your experiences, it could be like, hey, go back to the 1,000 cuts because it's going to be badass. It could be something completely different about why Jai Lee is the best cover artist that's in comics. The content doesn't matter at all to me. It's just that I want people to be able to hear directly from you what you want them to hear from you. I think that made sense. So the floor is yours.
Oh man, now you put me on the spot again.
Yep.
I don't think Jiley is the best cover artist. I think he's an incredible artist, and I want to make that differentiation.
Okay.
And that also needs to be a differentiation that needs to be made. And when I talk about accessibility of comic books as part of the culture, not a means to an end to own an IP because you think it's going to be a hit movie or a TV show or you just got into it, that's fine. It doesn't matter. But it is an art form. It is culturally relevant. Jai Lee is just a great artist. He's one of the best artists. And we could go on and you know, and I'm going to butcher her name probably too, Jenny Frison, who's a well sought after, cover artist. She is an artist making art that just looks beautiful in a certain format. And it would look just as beautiful as a huge blown up in a wall of a gallery. But at least with comics, we can we have this different appreciation of this art form. It's less highbrow, I hope. It even if it's not accessible physically everywhere you go, you can still get it, and you can come from all walks of life. The artists, and I don't just mean people like illustrators. I mean writers, colorists, letters. When you are looking at a comic book, you are looking at team, the ultimate teamwork on a project that elevates each other. It's like every time someone contributes to that book just went up a notch. The letter comes in, the printer. I mean, it's important how it's going to look on the paper.
Yeah.
I mean, God, there's so much that goes on to bring that to you, but it's still in a art form that it doesn't matter where country you live in, what's your income bracket, who you voted for, what your sexual orientation is.
Yeah.
It means nothing. It is something that can make us more unified. And so, in a time like now, I think comics play a bigger role than maybe the way someone once thought about it. So I think it's just like look at it from a different angle. That this is art. It is storytelling. This is a collaborative thing, and we can all be in it together, or we can start stabbing each other for pennies.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to be part of the community that celebrates this as art, and the enjoyment of the creativity, whether it's horror or all ages. You know, I have friends doing all ages books. I don't. It does, but it's like I always say this: we're in it together, from podcasters to writers to artists to fans. You know, what a cool art form, and I'd love to see. I think it's going through a renaissance, and I hope that evolves.
I dig it. I just got chills. So like, yeah, I can't even begin to top any of that. So that's where we're gonna end it, because that needs to be the thing that people walk away thinking, is like, just look at comic books just a slightly different way next time you pick one up, because it does take a whole lot of teamwork and collaboration, and from all of the people, just to bring out these stories that all of these creators love making and want to have in the world. So Gerald, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I looked down at the time and I was like, oh God, it's already over an hour. I like flew by. It's always like,
can I just show this real quick before we go?
Yeah, I didn't even ask you about that, dude. You have a custom Funko Pop, and that's a pledge level on 1,000 Cuts, right?
It was. We took it off. I'm gonna be honest. We took it off. I have a reason. I'm not gonna explain it. So right now, this is the only one. That's awesome. Own it. Well, my son will own it when I get back to Italy. He told me that.
Yeah.
And but you know, it's hopes by the end of the series, every character, there'll be a different Funko Pop for every major character in the book. And then, if anything, it would look cool on a convention table.
Yeah. It's
just fun.
I think it's great. Yeah,
having fun.
Having fun is why comic books matter. Is you got to have fun with the process. Yeah. So, perfect.
Well, thank you, Chris. I love hanging out with you, man.
Absolutely. Appreciate it. Hang tight. I got quick logistics for you after this, but for everybody else, if you like this, if you like having fun, share it with somebody that also likes fun, because they'll probably enjoy it too. But what's a good podcast without a good tagline? This one's mine. Go do what's good for you, punks, and read some indie comics, because we are out of here. The big swooping